thought I would start out. I felt a sneeze coming on in the middle of that. Thought I would start out with the birthday song because today happens to be my wife's birthday. And so there is something good to celebrate today. It is her birthday. And so I thought I would start out with a little bit of a song. But let's start out with some other good news as well. I didn't want to actually sing. So let's hear some other good news. So yesterday we heard about some people who were walking, and let's raise a glass to the cover models in the latest issue of British Vogue. Instead of celebs in avant-garde fashion, the mag's July issue will feature 3 of the many key workers that have kept the world turning during the COVID-19 fight. Rachel Miller is a community midwife in East London. Nargos Horsford is a train driver on the London Overground. And Anais Omar is a supermarket assistant working in London's King Cross. Between the pages, they talk about how the pandemic has changed their daily life. British Vogue's editor-in-chief, Edward Enninful, said the publication wanted to capture the spirit of those whose bravery has helped so many. And I applaud British Vogue for having, instead of celebs in avant-garde fashion being the center of the magazine, I applaud you for having just regular people who are doing extraordinary things during this time of a pandemic. So that's really good news to hear that. But as I said, today is my wife's birthday, and so I invite you to wish her a happy birthday. I know that I just sang at the beginning of this, and I know that wasn't actually my voice in case you couldn't tell, but I do wish her a happy birthday. So let's hear a little bit of reflection, shall we, as we get into today's story, into today's video. So you know what your problem is, Wagamus? No, that's what your problem is. I became a better person after that. I no longer want to be resilient. I don't want to simply bounce back from things that hurt me or cause me pain. Bouncing back means returning to where I stood before. Instead, I want to go beyond the hurts and the darkness. The first step toward genuine healing from my mental illness was when I came to trust and believe that there was a beyond. Now I reach for beyond every day, in every encounter, in every circumstance. I seek to go where I've never traveled. I wake with the vision of a purposeful day filled with adventures and teachings. Then I take the first step and try to make it beyond. That is a great, great, great thing to remind us of all. That, we're in the midst of this crazy pandemic. And right now there are days where it just seems darker than other days. I know I had a moment like that yesterday as I was driving home. I was listening to the radio and I heard a song that reminded me of pre-pandemic days, and it made me sad because I was just thinking, will things ever get back to the way they were? Who knows? But that is a great thing to remind us to look beyond our present circumstances and try to see the beyond. That's an important thing to remember. So, my friends, let's hear about our woman of the day. So, our woman of the day today on June 11th, my wife's birthday, I'll mention that again, is Mary Seacole. And so, Mary Seacole is a Jamaican Scottish nurse, writer, and Crimean war hero. I have no idea of who she is, so I'm looking forward to hearing more about Mary. There's just something about Mary. All right, so Mary Jane Grant was born in Kingston, Jamaica in 1805. Her mother was a free Jamaican woman who ran a boarding house for injured soldiers, and her father was a Scottish soldier. Mary's mother was a traditional healer or doctress who taught her daughter nursing skills, and Mary enjoyed helping her mother and practicing on her dolls. She received a good education both in school and at home. She grew up facing many prejudices because she was mixed race in a place where slaves were not freed until 1834. Even though she was free, her life was limited in other ways. But she was an optimist and saw the benefits of her dual heritage. She believed she had inherited her energy and ambition from her Scottish father and her healing skills from her Jamaican mother. From a young age, she knew that she was going to live a remarkable life. When she grew up, she continued, along with her sister Louisa, to manage the family business. She loved to travel, and she visited many places in the Caribbean, Central America, and Britain. She also spent time in Panama using her nursing skills to help fight a terrible cholera epidemic. When things settled down, she managed a hotel that her brother had opened there. She knew a lot about traditional medicine and combined these ideas with more modern European medicine. She believed that cleanliness, good food, and fresh air were all an important part of good health, and these were radical ideas at the time. Her reputation as a healer grew. She helped stop a cholera epidemic in Jamaica as well as a yellow fever outbreak, and she began to treat knife and gunshot wounds. During this time, she married a naval officer named Edwin Horatio Seacole, but sadly he died after just 8 years. She traveled to England once more in 1854, just after the start of the Crimean War, and asked the War Office to be sent to Crimea as a nurse. She knew she could help because the greatest danger facing the soldiers was not injury but illness. Cholera and malaria were killing far more many men from wounds from battle. But the War Office refused Mary's application for the job, possibly because of the color of her skin. She was clever and resourceful, though, and she wanted to help, so she traveled to Crimea and used her own money to set up a boarding house called the British Hotel. The hotel had an officers' club and a canteen serving good food, but its main purpose was to take care of sick and wounded officers as they recovered. She often bravely went on to the battlefield to attend to the soldiers there, sometimes even under enemy fire. She loaded up mules with supplies, making sure the soldiers had food and blankets, and always had a kind word. The soldiers loved her and called her Mother Seacole. Even though she was praised highly by her soldiers, the military never officially thanked her for her work. After the war, Mary returned to England without a penny to her name. She had spent everything she had on helping the soldiers. Luckily, when people heard her story, a festival was organized to raise money to help Mary. She then wrote her memoirs called The Wonderful Adventures of Mrs. Seacole in Many Lands. The book was a bestseller. Mary was able to live comfortably in London for the rest of her life. She did many things that other women did not or could not do during Victorian times. She traveled all over the world, she ran a business, and she risked her life to help others. In 2016, a statue of Mary was put up in front of St. Thomas's Hospital in London, which is believed to be the first statue of a named Black British woman. It is richly deserved tribute to someone as courageous, daring, and incredibly generous as Mother Seacole. So this right here is the only known photo of Mother Seacole, and there is a drawing of her, and there is the book, the memoirs, and one of her quotes: "And the grateful words and smile which rewarded me for binding up a wound or giving a cooling drink was a pleasure worth risking life for at any time." And so that is a beautiful story about a beautiful woman who risked her life to help others. Tomorrow, our woman of the day will be Shireen Ebadi, who is an Iranian human rights lawyer, teacher, and activist. And so, sorry, the pollen in the air is making my allergies bad. So, it is great to hear about women who have done amazing things for the world, and they do so without even getting a thanks. And so sometimes you go out into the world, you do what you can, and you do it without needing praise. So, my friends, let's get back into Hunger Games, shall we? And see what's happening with Katniss and Peeta. So, Katniss, just a recap, she, from the cornucopia, she got a book bag, and then she looked through it just recently and found that there's no water. So, here we go. No water. How hard would it have been for them to fill up the bottle? I become aware of the dryness in my throat and mouth and the cracks in my lips. I've been moving all day long. It's been hot and I've sweat a lot. I do this at home, but there's always streams to drink from or snow to melt if it should come to it. As I refill my pack, I have an awful thought. The lake, the one I saw while I was waiting for the gong to sound. What if that's the only water source in the arena? That way they'll guarantee us drawing a fight. The lake is a full day's journey from where I sit now, a much harder journey with nothing to drink. And then, even if I reach it, it's sure to be heavily guarded by some of the career tributes. I'm about to panic when I remember the rabbit I startled earlier today. It has to drink too. I just have to find out where. Twilight is closing in and I'm ill at ease. The trees are too thin to offer much concealment. The layer of pine needles that muffles my footsteps also makes tracking animals harder when I need their trails to find water. And I'm still heading downhill, deeper and deeper, into a valley that seems endless. I'm hungry too, but I don't dare break into my precious store of crackers and beef yet. Instead, I take my knife and go to work on a pine tree, cutting away the outer bark and scraping off a large handful of the softer inner bark. I slowly chew the stuff as I walk along. After a week of the finest food in the world, it's a little hard to choke down, but I've eaten plenty of pine in my life. I'll adjust quickly. In another hour, it's clear I've got to find a place to camp. Night creatures are coming out. I can hear the occasional hoot or owl. My first clue that I'll be competing with natural predators for the rabbits. As to whether I'll be viewed as a source of food, it's too soon to tell. There could be any number of animals stalking me at this moment. But right now I decide to make my fellow tributes a priority. I'm sure many will continue hunting through the night. Those who fought it out at the cornucopia will have food, an abundance of water from the lake, torches or flashlights, and weapons they're itching to use. I can only hope I've traveled far and fast enough to be out of range. Before settling down, I take my wire and set 2 twitch-up snares in the brush. I know it's risky to be setting traps, but food will go so fast out here. And I can't set snares on the run. Still, I walk another 5 minutes before making camp. I pick my tree carefully, a willow, not terribly tall, but set in a clump of other willows, offering concealment in those long flowing tresses. I climb up, sticking to the stronger branches closer to the trunk, and find a sturdy fork for my bed. It takes some doing, but I arrange the sleeping bag in a relatively comfortable manner. I place my backpack in the foot of the bag, then slide in after it. As a precaution, I remove my belt, loop it all the way around the branch in my sleeping bag, and refasten it at my waist. Now, if I roll over in my sleep, I won't go crashing to the ground, but I'm small enough to tuck the top of the bag over my head, but I put on my hood as well. As night falls, the air is cooling quickly. Despite the risk I took in getting the backpack, I know now is the right choice. The sleeping bag radiating back and preserving my body heat will be invaluable. I'm sure there are several other tributes whose biggest concern right now is how to stay warm, whereas I may actually be able to get a few hours of sleep if only I wasn't so thirsty. Night has just come when I hear the anthem that precedes the death recap. Through the branches, I can see the seal of the Capitol, which appears to be floating in the sky. I'm actually viewing another scream, an enormous one that's transported by one of their disappearing hovercraft. The anthem fades out and the sky goes dark for a moment. At home, we'd be watching full coverage of each and every killing, but that's thought to give an unfair advantage to living tributes. For instance, if I got my hands on the bow and shot someone, my secret would be revealed to all. No, here in the arena, all we see are the same photographs that showed when they televised our training scores, simple headshots, but now instead of scores, they post only district numbers. I take a deep breath as the faces of the 11 tributes begin and tick them off one by one on my fingers, the 11 dead tributes. The first to appear is the girl from District 3. That means that the career tributes from 1 and 2 have all survived. No surprise there. Then the boy from 4, I didn't expect that one. Usually all the careers make it through the first day. The boy from 5, I guess the fox-faced girl made it. Both tributes from 6 and 7. The boy from 8, both from 9. Yes, there's the boy who I fought for the backpack. I've run through my fingers. Only one more dead tribute to go. Is it PETA? No, there's the girl from District 10. That's it. The Capitol seal is back with the final musical flourish. Then darkness and the sounds of the forest resume. I'm relieved PETA's alive. I tell myself again that if I get killed, his winning will benefit my mother and Prem the most. This is why I tell myself to explain the conflicting emotions that arise when I think of PETA. The gratitude that he gave me an edge by professing his love for me in the interview, the anger at his superiority on the roof, the dread that we may come face to face at any moment in this arena. 11 dead, but none from District 12. I try to work out who is left. 5 career tributes, Foxface, Thresh, and Rue. So she made it through the first day after all. I can't help feeling glad. That makes 10 of us. The other 3 I'll figure out tomorrow. Now when it's dark, I have traveled far, and I'm nestled high in this tree. Now I must try and rest. Excuse me. I haven't really slept in 2 days, and then there's been the long day's journey into the arena. Slowly, I allow my muscles to relax, my eyes to close. The last thing I think is lucky I don't snore. Snap! The sound of a breaking branch wakes me. How long have I been asleep? 4 hours? 5? The tip of my nose is icy cold. Snap, snap! What's going on? This is not the sound of a branch under someone's foot, but the sharp crack of one coming from a tree. Snap, snap! I judge it to be several hundred yards to my right. Slowly, noiselessly, I turn myself in that direction. For a few moments, There's nothing but blackness and some scuffling. Then I see a spark and a small fire begins to bloom. A pair of hands warms over the flames. But I can't make out more than that. I have to bite my lip not to scream every foul name I know at the fire starter. What are they thinking? A fire lit just at nightfall would have been one thing. Those who battled at the cornucopia with their superior strength and surplus of supplies, they couldn't possibly have been near enough to spot the flames then. But now, when they've probably been combing the woods for hours looking for victims, you might as well be waving a flag and shouting, "Come and get me." And here I am a stone's throw from the biggest idiot in the games, strapped in a tree, not daring to flee since my general location has just been broadcast to any killer who cares. I mean, I know it's cold out here and not everybody has a sleeping bag, but then you grit your teeth and stick it out until dawn. I lie smoldering in my bag for the next couple of hours, really thinking that if I can get out of this tree, I won't have the least problem taking out my new neighbor. My instinct has been to flee, not fight. But obviously, this person's a hazard. Stupid people are dangerous, and this one probably doesn't have much in the way of weapons, while I've got this excellent knife. The sky is still dark, but I can feel the first signs of dawn approaching. I'm beginning to think that we, meaning the person whose death I'm now devising, and I, might actually have gone unnoticed. Then I hear it. Several pairs of feet breaking into a run. The fire starter must have dozed off. They're on her before she can escape. I know it's a girl now. I can tell by the pleading, the agonized scream that follows. Then there's laughter and congratulations from several voices. Someone cries out, 12 down and 11 to go, which gets a round of appreciative hoots. So they're fighting in a pack. I'm not really surprised. Often alliances are formed in the early stages of the games. The strong band together to hunt down the weak. Then when the tension becomes too great, begin to turn on one another. I don't have to wonder too hard who has made this alliance. It will be the remaining career tributes from districts 1, 2, and 4. 2 boys and 3 girls, the one who lunched together. For a moment I hear them checking the girl for supplies. I can tell by their comments they found nothing good. I wonder if the victim is Rue, but quickly dismiss the thought. She's much too bright to be building a fire like that. Better clear out so they can get the body before it starts stinking. I'm almost certain that the brutish boy from District 2, that's the brutish boy from District 2. There are murmurs of assent, and then to my horror, I hear the pack heading toward me. They do not know I'm here. How could they? I'm well concealed in the clump of trees, at least while the sun stays down. Then my black sleeping bag will turn from camouflage to trouble. If they just keep moving, they will pass me and be gone in a minute. But the careers stop in the clearing about 10 yards from my tree. They have flashlights, torches. I can see an arm here, a boot there, through the breaks in the branches. I turn to stone, not even daring to breathe. Have they spotted me? No, not yet. I can tell from their words. Their minds are elsewhere. Shouldn't we have heard a cannon by now? I said yes. Nothing to prevent them from going in immediately. Unless she isn't dead. She's dead. I stuck her myself. Then where's the cannon? Someone should go back, make sure the job's done. Yeah, we don't want to have to track her down twice. I said, she's dead. An argument breaks out until one tribute silences the other. We're wasting time. I'll go finish her and let's move on. I almost fall out of the tree. The voice belongs to PETA. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, so there we go. There's some more Hunger Games for you. So if you're itching for more, join me tomorrow. And we'll continue on with Hunger Games. But for now, I wish you all a wonderful day. And God bless you all. Stay safe out there.